minute new students step into campus, they are immediately greeted by current students eager to welcome them onto campus. These students are leaders for the New Student Experience Department. Joining me today is the director of this department, Fred George. Fred, how are you?
I'm doing well, Maddie. How are you doing?
I'm good. So can we start off by just kind of telling me, what is New Student Experience?
So New Student Experience is a program that's been here, but we've kind of made some tweaks to it. So originally it was just orientation, but we really sat down to try to figure out how we could give students a better experience throughout their career. And so essentially what we do is we still have those summer orientations and that week of welcome, but we also do events throughout the entire year. And one of the main differences that I wanted to push was making sure that our students were being compensated for the work that they did in the summer. So that is a difference as well.
Yeah, and so you kind of touched on it a little bit, but could you go into a little more detail? What kind of prompted that name change from orientation to New Student Experience?
Well, really, it was the change in my title. And so it was thinking about how do we look at this on a broader scope instead of just being really pigeonholed into this one silo. And so really using that, branching off of the title of the office, it just made a lot of sense to bring it to the actual department. And then I also felt like it gave us flexibility to do more as opposed to people just knowing us as orientation.
Yeah. So what kind of goes into planning these different New Student Experience events?
Yeah, so it's a lot actually. There's a structure on kind of how the leadership works. So I'm at the top of that, and then I have 3 New Student Experience chairs. And they're really behind the scenes with me, planning everything from the beginning to every detail in it. They meet with vendors, they're looking at contracts, they're also looking at the budget that we have, they're looking at logistics on how things are going to work. Here's our plan A, here's our rain plan. But under that, we have teams. So every single member of NSC is on a team. So we have our idea and development team, a social media team, a research analytics team, and then a hyper promotion team. So it all plays a part in every single event that we have, from summer events to the events throughout the year.
Yeah. So since kind of your rebranding, what would you say has been your favorite activity?
I think the favorite one hasn't happened yet. I'm very optimistic. So next week, this is going to be the first time, to my knowledge, and we're going to do a homecoming week of activities. So every single day leading up to that Saturday of homecoming, we're going to have an event each night. And so we're starting with the promotions of that. We have a new texting app that we've been able to utilize for students as well. So I have a little bit of nerves about it, but I'm really optimistic. I have a really strong team, and it's about trying to help create a culture and give students something to do, and just keeping that going.
Yeah. So let me just go back to you said you had different departments and different groups within NSC. Could you kind of talk about those a little bit more for me?
Yeah, and so when we were thinking of this entire concept of having events throughout the year, one of the things that happened last year is I thought that we had good events, but we didn't have any way to track it. It was just kind of like anecdotal information. People were coming and seeing the events. So I was trying to think of ways that how can we reach the student body? How can we bring things that students want? How can we track the effectiveness of these events? And then how can we also promote this, right? And so what I did was I presented this model, but I wanted students to kind of rank where they would be, like, where's my number one as far as I think I would be good on a promotion and hype team. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to put students in positions that they wouldn't feel comfortable and be able to really capitalize off of their expertise. And so really it all comes together. We have to promote, we have to be able to analyze, we have to have the ideas, and then we have to have the presence on social media as well.
Mm-hmm. So you did mention the big homecoming week. Are there any other activities coming up that you are particularly excited about?
Yes, so another an event that I'm excited about, we haven't had a family and friends weekend since about 17 or 18. And so we will have that again, and that's going to be October 7th through 9th. And that's going to be the same weekend as that we play UVA-Y. So it's going to be a lot of people on campus. We'll have a 3-day event starting that Friday evening and then going through Saturday and ending on Sunday. Yeah. And so we haven't done it in a while, so I'm gonna offer it. We're promoting it to our families. There has been a big push to be able to include families in kind of what we do in New Student Experience as well.
So some of the things that you do, I believe kind of reflect that of Emory Activities Board. Can you explain the difference between what Emory Activities Board does and what you guys do?
Yeah, I got a lot of questions about that when when we were first kind of starting, and I think that there are similarities in our ultimate goals. And one of the things that I wanted to try to make sure was clear when we were, and I met with some people from EVE as well, was to make sure it wasn't NSC versus, it was just more like NSC in addition to the other things. So I guess the biggest difference would be that our primary focus are new students. And so our events are open to all students, like we wouldn't turn anybody away, but we're really focusing on that incoming class as they're here to really be able to create connection points through social events. So some of the events are similar, but we also partner with EVE a lot. So we partner with them about 3 or 4 things. And so I just look at it as being a group that can help provide and offer other things to do on campus, along with the great groups that we already have.
Yeah. So if current students in the next coming years do want to become NSE leaders, how would they go about that?
They would do it through Handshake. So we go through student employment, similar to other groups on campus. So I'll do a rehiring process. So I'll re-interview our current students to see we have a thing to kind of review and kind of see how they did with their roles within NSC. And then each year we'll have a certain amount of available positions that students can apply for. And when we do the interview process, I try to make it similar to what students should expect. So I intentionally put our interviews on the weekend because we work a lot of weekends. So it's good for students to get a feel for what that would be like.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And coming up, we'll have your news update.
Thank you.